Marching bands and Santa Claus. Christmas comes to Deltona. Hi, I'm Lee Lopez with the City of Deltona. It is almost Christmas time, and in Deltona that means two things: Santa's North Pole and the Deltona Christmas Parade. My guests with me today, Scott McGrath and Kat Kipp with the Planning and Development Department. They're in charge of the city's Christmas Parade this year, and Steve Moore with the city's Parks Department. The Parks Department puts on Santa's North Pole. Now, this Christmas Parade, I want to get started with that first.
The Christmas parade is Saturday, December 5th at 6 o'clock p.m.
Okay. And the route this year?
It is a 1 mile route. Starts at Balsam Street near the post office, and it runs through the Stratford Commons area where the Dollar General is located.
Okay. And it's all along Deltona Boulevard, correct?
Correct.
Now, the parade, you said, starts at 6 o'clock. Are people who want to come down there and watch it, are they encouraged to show up at a certain time to find places to sit? Will that be available to them? Because I know the street's going to be open for a while.
The street is open until 3:45 p.m. And then it starts getting busy in the viewing areas about 5 o'clock.
Okay. So, say after 4 o'clock, if somebody wants to go and reserve a spot along the street, they can do that after 4?
Yes.
Okay. And the parking again, you said, is?
The parking will be available at 777 Deltona Boulevard, which is the Fountains Plaza.
Okay.
It'll be available at 800 Deltona Boulevard, which is the Greater Faith AME Church, 921 Deltona, which is Deltona Alliance Church, and then also at 1200 Deltona Boulevard, which is the Deltona Plaza.
Okay, Scott, who can enter the parade? Last year I saw schools, there were individuals, so who do you guys kind of look for?
Anyone can enter. All entries are requested to donate an unwrapped toy to be later distributed to the community here in Deltona.
So it really could be almost anybody who wants to, be in the Christmas spirit, and they want to go down Deltona Boulevard. And it is a nighttime parade, so I guess you're encouraging people to have something that's illuminated.
Yes, it's a requirement.
Oh, it is required? Okay. With a float, is there a size requirement if somebody wants to bring in a float? Or is
there's no minimum or maximum. All we ask on the application is that you list the size. That way when we plan the staging, we can have a close to accurate length for the parade.
Oh, okay. Now, with this parade, it's judged, correct?
Yes.
And what would be some of the criteria that people are looking for?
Some of the criteria that they'll be looking for would be creativity, craftsmanship, staying to the theme of the parade and to the Christmas spirit.
Okay. And
the energy that the group can emote when they come towards the judging station.
Okay, and that's something I should have asked you guys earlier. What's the theme for the parade this year?
The theme is Toyland theme.
Okay.
And that's geared around the request to have all the entries donate an unwrapped toy so we can distribute it back. The goal of that theme was to generate a large, massive toy drive.
Okay. Now that's interesting because in the past we haven't done that, but this year, the toy drive, this is for Toys for Tots, correct?
It's also, the Toys for Tots will be included, and also Youth Explosion for Christ. They've done an annual toy drive every year, and this will help their toy drive. And that way more toys stay local. They're a Deltona-based group, and more toys will stay local that way.
Okay, so when somebody wants to enter the parade, you're asking that they also provide an unwrapped toy?
Yes, correct.
Oh, that's cool. And with the judging criteria, like you said, you're looking for creativity, staying with the theme of the parade, and like you said, you want it to be illuminated because it's a nighttime parade.
Correct.
With, say, a marching band or a performance, something other than a float, is there something that you're looking for with that, or is it pretty much the same thing?
No, it's the same thing. It's energy level, spirit. Yeah.
Now, with a parade like this, we have rules that that we operate by just for safety. So, what would be allowed, like say, for somebody to have on on a parade float or in a performance? What are they allowed to do?
It has to be community appropriate. It can't be obscene or
Yeah.
obnoxious.
Mm-hmm.
We strongly encourage people to decorate, to light up their vehicles.
Mhm.
It's really important to be able to be seen.
Yeah.
We also have some prohibitions, which would be throwing candy or gifts. People can get injured chasing the candy. We only have one Santa Claus and one Mrs. Claus.
Yeah.
They're provided by the city.
Mm-hmm.
And the other major safety one would be no sitting on the railings or the edges of trucks so they can't fall out.
Okay, because I want to just expand a little bit on what you had mentioned about not throwing, toys or throwing candy, because a lot of times people don't quite understand why you don't do that. But in the past, we've had not accidents, but there have been like issues where somebody will run out in the street, going after them.
Yes, the kids will come out chasing the candy out into the street, and I believe one year we had an incident where one child had their leg ran over by a float chasing the candy. So
so instead of throwing the candy, what do you guys recommend?
we hand groups that have candy have to hand it out at the edge of the parade, at the edge of the seating.
Yeah, okay, and obviously don't sit on the edge of the float. This is the second year you guys have done this, correct? Because last year I think you guys picked up the duty of putting the parade together, right?
Correct. Yes.
Because I want to kind of do a little bit of a historical with last year's parade. And I don't remember who the winners were, but do you guys remember if, in your recollection, if there was any one float or performance that really stood out that was like, hey, that was pretty cool?
There were several really good floats last year that got recognition, and even the Stonewater department had a really great float last year.
I think that was it Peanuts, or was it
SpongeBob.
SpongeBob, yes.
Yeah, and that's something else that I want to expand on just a little bit more, that the city floats, because a lot of the people who, they see in costume, like you said, with the SpongeBob SquarePants, float with Public Works, these are city employees who are dressing up to take part in the parade. As far as like city personnel, I mean, I know there are a lot of people, but how many people get involved with putting the parade together?
It's very hard to get a number on that. Some people have 1 or 2 hours in, and other people have 2 days in where they're out there just cleaning up the site afterwards and preparing the site before. But we estimate about 65 people.
Okay. Are any of them volunteers?
Yeah, we accept volunteers. They can come in and ask for Scott or Cat, myself, and we get them the forms they need to fill out, and have them be glad to have volunteers.
Now, working on a parade like this, or almost any kind of a large event, when did you guys start planning this? Because this isn't something you do like, oh, let's have a parade and then you put it together next week.
Planning almost begins right after the event ends.
Okay.
There's a wrap-up meeting to discuss how things went, what could be improved, and start getting the ball rolling as far as picking out a theme. And then there's a short break. And then right around late summer to about when school begins again is when we pick back up. So in essence, it's ongoing with a very small break in between.
Okay, so it's like year round.
Yes.
As soon as one parade ends, planning for the next year begins.
Yes.
And the departments that are involved, because I said it's your department, Parks obviously has a big part in it as well. There's Public Works, Deltona Water, but I guess is it like almost every department in the city gets involved? At some stage.
Most departments do, yes. Finance doesn't really get involved too much. They're a pretty small staff, and clerk's office doesn't do as much with it as they used to. They're pretty tight staff too, but the Public Works and Deltona Water are a huge part of it. Parks Department's a big part of it as well. So all those staff are greatly appreciated.
And with the floats, because I remember we always have this as the very last float. It's a Santa Claus workshop float. That's built by the employees. I think is at Public Works, but it's built by city employees. It's not we don't contract out to have somebody bring it in.
Right.
It's something that we put together.
Yes.
Correct.
And in the past, I think I've seen you have volunteers who they're the elves. You have Mr. and Mrs. Claus. There are children. Are those typically employees' children, or?
Yes, those are typically employees' children or grandchildren in some cases. Those are
to kind of help populate the float?
Yes.
Keep it in the Christmas spirit?
Sure.
Now, when you look at the route, and starting, let's say, at the very beginning all the way, well, typically in the middle, people may want to like sell items, like say if they want to sell like, Christmas, gadgets, they want to sell tchotchkes, they want to sell like little lamps. Are vendors allowed along the parade route, or is this something that we're trying to keep away from?
That has been a problem in the past.
Mm-hmm.
We don't allow that anymore. We do have a food court,
Mm-hmm.
and food trucks will be there. If there's people would like to be involved in that, they
Mm-hmm.
can also contact myself or Kat or the Parks Department
Mm-hmm.
to get an application for that. They are all licensed food vendors. They have a state license and a city license as well as all their health department licenses. So they are legitimate businesses in the community normally.
Okay.
And we encourage any of those to come out and apply and have a chance
Okay.
to make some money and
get in the Christmas spirit.
yes, and
Yeah.
help. Well, and help. It helps.
Mhm.
It also helps with the parents who are out there dropping their kids off for band.
Mm-hmm.
They're stuck out there from 4 p.m. till 9 p.m. They need something to eat as well. So it's
That's
good for
true.
the community. It's a good turnout there.
Now, this parade, the nighttime parade, has only been in existence, I think, since 2011. So
Correct.
you kind of help me out with the history here. Before that, it was part of the old Deltona Days parade, which always happened right around Thanksgiving, but that was a daytime parade. So, the kind of like looking back in our crystal ball, so to speak, how did the parade kind of evolve?
The Deltona Days Parade was in existence for 16 to 17 years, and as the Deltona Civic Association wanted to get out of that, and the city wanted to make sure it kept going, so the city adopted that parade and kept it going.
Now, so we started in 2011. The original location for the nighttime parade, I think it was on Providence.
The first 2 years were on
Mhm.
Providence, and then the next 2 years were on Deltona Boulevard again. And then next year, this commission would like to have it back on Providence again.
Oh, okay, so it might move again, okay.
Yes.
With the, I guess, like, seating capacity, for lack of a better term, when you look at the number of people who are, who go to the parade, do you guys have like an idea how many people showed up last year?
The Sheriff's Department does a rough
Mhm.
calculation. I believe they had about 10,000 people last year show up.
Well, that's pretty good. So say if somebody wants to go to the parade, it's kind of like a recap. If they show up sometime like after 4 o'clock to find a place to reserve for themselves,
4 to 5, yes.
and then the parade starts at 6 o'clock. Typically, does it it is 6, right? Okay, and it goes for about an hour and a half to 2 hours, I think.
Roughly.
So then it would be wrapped up sometime between 8 and 9. So for somebody who would be there with their family, if they plan on getting there between 4 and 5, then by the time the parade ends, because then you have to allow for everything to kind of clear out of the way, what could people expect as far as once the parade is over with, when they can head out? Is there
8:30 to 9 o'clock is a fair estimate.
Last year, as the parade was going by intersections of the street, the police officers, the sheriff's office would be opening the route back up.
Okay.
So if they were parked on a side street in the middle of the parade, they were able to leave right after the parade, the end of the parade, or Santa drove by.
Okay, so as the parade, at the end of the parade moves down the street, the sheriff's office will be opening up those intersections. So people who are, like, say, at the very beginning of the parade, at the head of it, when the parade, pardon the pun, passes them by, that then they'll be able to go ahead and pack up and leave, and the street will be open for them.
Correct.
Whereas people who are at the other end, and they're close to the terminus where the judge's area is, for them, the wait's going to be a little bit longer because they have to wait till the parade itself is over with. So they won't be allowing people to leave during the parade because the street should be closed, correct? And just once again, if somebody wants to get more information as far as they want to volunteer or they want to enter a float or just general information, who they contact or what would they do?
They can contact the city at 386-878-8600.
Okay.
They could go onto the city's website under the Parks and Rec Special Events tab. They could also follow the city on Facebook or Twitter, because we're going to
Okay.
be posting updates on there as well.
Steve, as Kat had said, it's like that time of the year, and it's time for people to get into the holiday spirit. With the Parks Department, Santa's North Pole, that's also become a tradition with the city, that it actually predates being a parks event. I think the fire department handled it for a while, but then you guys went ahead and picked up the reins, so to speak. How long is Santa's North Pole been like under your guidance? Because you also changed the venue.
Yeah, the venue used to be the West Crowell Park Gymnasium, and you're right, the fire department was the developers of the event back, 15 years ago. And it was a very successful event that they, of course, hosted. But what we did is we moved it to the new library site, and when the library was completed. And basically what we do now is we take the big room, the convention room there, that's split in half with a divider, and we open that up. And we found that we put about 21 Christmas trees in there, and then we have a winding walkway that just weaves through. And at the end of the walkway is Mr. and Mrs. Claus in a real nice chair. Then we have an opportunity for you to get your picture taken with Santa and Mrs. Santa. And then one of our sponsors is Walgreens, and they give the candy to the kids and, of course, take the pictures. Okay. So it's become a very successful event.
Yeah, I remember last year, what was the guesstimated attendance?
We had about 858 people last year.
That's a pretty good number of people.
We looked at the opportunity to change the time a little bit, and we did some things last year that we're going to do again this year.
Okay.
Standing in line to be able to get through there takes quite some time.
Yeah.
Last year we had a lady that made balloons. She crafted balloons and tied them all together. You know how they do that? And then we also had a face painter, and they painted the kids' faces while they were waiting in line. That was very popular. This year we're going to forgo the balloons, but we're going to have sort of a little coloring area for the kids. Okay. We're going to set up a big table. It'll be in the lobby, and the kids can come in and they can color, and we have some stuff that they can use for that. Then we're also going to do face painting, as well as we have a person that was at one of our other events that can do characters, and they're going to draw pictures of the kids from scratch. Yeah. And that's a really pretty cool thing, and then give the picture right to the kid. So it's kind of neat.
So while they're waiting to get into the actual room for the North Pole display, they'll have something that'll keep them occupied.
Absolutely, because people get antsy standing in the line for quite some time. Parents are going, oh, how much longer? It's just like taking a trip. You're wondering when you're going to get there.
Yeah, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So this helps take their mind off it. Yeah. Now, this year, North Pole takes place when?
It's the 12th. It's the weekend following the Christmas parade.
Okay. And the hours
it's from 4 till 8.
Okay.
4 to 8.
Okay, so it's early afternoon, early evening.
Yeah, absolutely.
And well, obviously the way that it's geared with all the decorations, it's family oriented, but isn't it more geared towards like a younger?
Yes, it is. It is an event for a younger age child, but parents have to bring the kids, so they get as much enjoyment out of it as the kids do, because we do light it all up, and we get some volunteers to help decorate it, and it does take a little bit of time to put everything together. So
now, once they get into the room, you said there are going to be 21 Christmas trees, but I remember from previous years there's more than Christmas trees. There are other
yeah, we have some different little surprise things that you'll encounter on your little meandering through the little maze there. There's presents that are wrapped up for the kids. Oh, okay. And that's really cool. I mean, we don't give them to them, but they're all wrapped up. There's some snow scenes in there as well, and you'll see some pretty stuff associated with Christmas.
Because I think there were like characters that people would recognize, like say from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, from Frosty.
There's some elves.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of other decorations in there. So
now, because you'd mentioned this a little bit earlier, with the setup, this is just like with the parade. This isn't something that you just like throw it together, overnight or in 1 week. What's the typical setup time? Like say with the planning, because you start with the parade, they start planning it as soon as the last year's is over. Is it kind of the same thing with North Pole?
Basically what Kat was talking about with the parade is typically the library people from Volusia County want to know when we're going to do it. So we kind of have to have an idea from these guys as to when the parade's going to be next year, because when we're there, we have to fill out the request for next year's parade. We've already done that. So we have to pick that date and kind of hope that we have good communication with the people running the parade. But to get it all set up, we start that Monday, which I believe is the 7th. And we have some of the stuff on site down in the basement, as you know, when we have our concerts. We have a small storage room down there, and throughout the year, we go down there and put stuff and add to it, take away, and whatnot. So what we do is we take some of the stuff that's down there, and we bring it all upstairs and assemble it. And we get our volunteers from the respective advisory boards, the Youth Advisory Board, the Citizen Accessibility Subcommittee, and the Senior Advisory Subcommittee, as well as the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. And we compile a list of volunteers for that. And then they'll be over there during the day helping us out. And then we usually wrap things up about Friday afternoon, and we're good to go. So it takes about a week, though, juggling up.
Yeah, for the event itself, usually how many people are actually working the event? Because there's a lot to it.
We have somewhere in the neighborhood of about 5 or 6 people that work the event. That some are volunteers and some are staff. And it's more of a directional kind of thing here. Stand here, go this way, and the kids get so excited when they're in there to see all the different colors and, toys and all that kind of stuff that, they're sort of mesmerized by it. And then they get on that path. So we kind of have to have people positioned on the path to be able to get them to the end, because they want to stop and look. We want that continual flow to go through. And so we have quite a few people that are on that path helping out. And
you're saying that it's a mix of people who are staff with the city, but you also have volunteers,
right?
And and you said that the volunteers, some of them are a majority of them are with the advisory boards. But say if somebody they're not on an advisory board and they want to help, how would they go about doing that?
Well, they can come to our office in City Hall, the Parks and Recreation Department office. And kids nowadays get community service hours. Just like we did for Spooktacular and the 4th of July. They can see Marlene Brown. We have a pre-printed form that they can fill out. And then if they want to help us out, we'll sign it for their hours. And then they can take that form back and give it to whether it's a Key Club or a French Club or 4-H. Those people can help. Usually the ones that help us. So it takes a lot of people to actually help out and get it going.
Behind the scenes. Now, how would somebody get in touch with Marlene?
Come here to City Hall at 2345 Providence Boulevard, or give us a call, 386-878-8900.
Okay.
Or you can go on our website. You can send us on the Parks and Recreation Department website and the city website. You can send us an email. You can draft up an email from the website, which is what a lot of people do. So it's a very active event, and it seems to get bigger and bigger every year.
That's what I was going to ask you. Last year's attendance, and when you look at the previous years, you've seen it grow as far as the attendance numbers. Because I remember seeing it before where there were people waiting outside the door, but that was at West Crowell where you had a lot smaller area. Now you have a larger area that you can get people, keep them indoors, but still it's you usually have a pretty good line.
It's a long line, and that's why we try to come up with things that can hold their patience. We don't want them to get in there and go, oh boy, we've been here for 2 hours.
For a long time.
So.
And just to make sure people know about this, like you're saying with the at the end of the walkway, that's where they get their pictures taken with Santa Claus. And with Walgreens, are the photos, do they pay for the photos, or the photos?
You're given a photo before you leave.
Oh, before you leave.
Before you leave. If you want some additional photos, then you can contact the Walgreens people. And you can say that to them while they're, when you're picking your photo up. They have the forms ready right there. You can fill that out with your name and address. And what we do is we'll have a table where you can pick it up, and you can see where your photo is. Oh, that's me right there, and they can pick it up. And then if you want to get some additional photos to send to your grandmother, grandfather, whatever, there's another table over here that you can fill out a form, and then you can contact them, and then they'll let you know when those photos are ready to be picked up. So it's an opportunity for Walgreens to make a little bit of money, as well as provide sponsorship that we need to help run the event.
Cool. So just to recap, Santa's North Pole takes place at the Deltona Library,
right.
Which is, was it 21?
On Eustace.
Yeah, 2150.
Right.
And the date is
Saturday the 12th.
and it's from 4 to 8 in the
4 to 8
afternoon,
p.m.
or in the evening. And with the parade is going to be December 5th, and it starts at 6, Deltona Boulevard, along the, starting at, what did you say, Enterprise?
We're starting at Balsam near the post office.
Okay,
and
near the
running up
post
through
office.
the Deltona Plaza,
Okay.
ending there near the Stratford Commons area.
Okay. And if somebody wants to find a place, it's recommended they get there right around 4 o'clock, because the streets will be
3:40.
closed about 3:45.
Yes.
Okay. And if they want to volunteer, they need any other information. How would they? Is there a phone number they can call? Just as a recap.
They can call 386-878-8600.
Mm-hmm.
They could come into the City Hall, 2345 Providence Boulevard. They can also send an email to deltonaparade@deltonafl.gov.
Okay.
And they can also visit our website at
Okay.
the Parks and Recs Department's
Mhm.
special events tab. There's some information with the entry form and parade guidelines as well.
Okay. Sounds good. Scott, Kat, thank you very much.
Thank you, Lee.
Steve, thank you.
Appreciate it.
And thank you everybody for watching. Happy holidays. This has been Turf Courts and Celebrations.